So you quickly realized this was kind of a cheat code.
If you said that in 18, you missed it in 19.
How to navigate what we're currently facing.
If it doesn't fall in those 4 categories, don't buy it.
The appraiser is going to protect buyers and sellers with that.
3 years in, I'm an owner of a mortgage company.
The key word is the family, right?
The family.
You got to take care of your people.
I'm saying 3 to 5, which is a steady, nice conservative buy.
With you, obviously, with your mortgage experience, I do want to take an opportunity and kind of chat through 2 different sides of things. Just kind of a state of the union of our industry as a whole is what it is right now. What you would recommend to our referral partners, which most tends to be real estate agents. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 5 of the Brady Haye Mortgage Team podcast, where we're focused on building quality relationships with quality people and growing together. Pleased to be joined today with one of the owners of our division and whatever title he wants to give himself, Mr. Dave Hochberg. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Congratulations on making it to number 5.
Thanks. It might be the 5th and final.
It might blow this up.
We might get canceled, but hey, we're still here and we're thriving. So
right, let's roll, baby.
No, appreciate you joining me today. Obviously, appreciate you making the trip down to Des Moines to come see us, provide some value for us and our realtor partners. Kind of starting off the episode, kind of give the viewers and listeners kind of some background into who you are, what you do, and
sure.
Yeah, so how you got here.
So 23 years, got in the business August of 2000. Graduated Northern Illinois University, Harvard of the Midwest in 88. Went to the scrap iron and metal industry, related field. In August, summer 2000, the economy was in the toilet, sucked. We were charging people to get their material instead of paying them.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I got to find something else to do. I was 28.
Okay.
Newly engaged, recently engaged. Going to be getting married within the year.
Yeah.
And I didn't see a future financially for myself or my wife and our future family. So I'm like, I got to do something. Right?
Yeah.
28, still could pivot. And I saw a lot of people at the time making decent living in the mortgage industry.
Okay. This was what year again?
This was August of 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, so you were still...
I would have been 6.
Yeah, you were still in diapers because you were a late developer. But that's another story for another day. Still seeing a psychiatrist for that. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you were 6, I was switching gears here.
Okay.
Right? So I saw a lot of my friends making a ton of money in the mortgage industry.
Okay.
All due respect to my friends, I knew I was a better sales professional than them. And I was like, if these guys could do it,
surely I can.
It can't be that tough.
Right.
So I talked to a couple of my buddies in the mortgage industry.
Okay.
Talked to the guy that did my loan when I bought my condo, and he's like, yeah, you could do it. I'll teach you how to do it. Why don't you come aboard? I'm like, all right, let's go.
There you go. So you joined on his team or just kind of jumped in on your own? What was kind of that?
No, I joined, it was Air Mortgage, Apple Mortgage at the time. It was a small
not affiliated with Apple, the Apple.
No, not at all. No, it was Apple Mortgage. It was 2 guys that owned the company.
Okay.
They had about 8 loan officers at the time. Things were a little looser back in August of 2000.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to pass any licensing tests.
So you were writing loans on napkins, right? Isn't that what they always say?
Yeah. I mean, I walked in August of 2000, and I was 100% commission.
Okay.
So I went from $125,000 salary, company car, full expense account, the whole 9 yards, to nothing. So,
and you were living in the heart of Chicago then, or what kind of?
I had a condo in Lakeview, which is the northern part of Chicago, and I had a view of downtown Chicago. I was right on Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah.
So I had expenses.
Right.
And I had a wedding coming up that I had to pay for. So yeah, it was kind of a leap of faith, right?
Okay.
So I figured I know how to sell, figure this out. So the first year, I got a financial calculator, got a workbook. I didn't know anything about mortgages other than that I paid my $700 mortgage every month on my $140,000 condo.
Yeah.
And I just started doing it. So the first 4 months, made $15,000, which back then was pretty decent money. Covered the bills. Had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Right.
But I sat in on other loan officers that were doing it longer than me and had more experience, and I picked it up quick. And then when sales reps would come through, I'd be, hey, what about this? What's that? What is a option arm? Back in the day, we had a lot more products than we have now. What is stated income? I didn't understand that. How can somebody get a loan with no income and no assets and the loans? I'm just like, all right. Once it started making sense, I started seeing them closing, and I started hearing other people at the office do other types of transactions. I'd sit in on them and hear them, or when they had a buyer come in, I would take, I'm 28 years old here. I'm right out of college. But I'm like, hey, let me take the docs and I'll go photocopy for you while you're selling to your client. And then I just picked up some stuff, and then within 2 years, I was the number 3 sales. When you're thrown to the lions, you learn how to fight the lions.
Yeah. Sounds like you just kind of became a sponge, right? And just kind of,
dude, I just whatever I could do, and then I started figuring out, how am I going to get business?
Right.
So I started going to firehouses.
Okay.
Right, because I was in a fraternity in college, and I'm just like, okay. 24. I learned all about being a firefighter. 24 on, 48 off. So I started offering. I do loans for one shift: red, black, yellow, gold, white, red, whatever they, the colors are.
Yeah.
I'll make a stake for all the shifts. So I went and I started making stakes at all 3 shifts at the firehouse because I did a loan for one.
Yep.
And then my name started getting around the firehouses. Rates were low. We were coming off the 8%. It's funny.
I was to say, what's low back then?
Well, yeah, it's a great question, because when they say, oh, rates haven't been this high in 23 years, I'm like, yeah, I know.
Everything's coming full circle now.
I was in the industry in August of 2000. It was 23 years ago. Yeah, I remember rates. I mean, we were selling 2 and 3 year subprime arms. We can't call them subprime arms anymore, so they're non-QM arms. The same.
Got it. Yeah.
Same crap, right? But it helps people out, right? You just put a different name on it. It's the same type of product. But, we were selling 7.99 and 8.99. So, these rates, and we were still doing a ton of business. So these rates don't scare me as they scare a younger person like you, who've never seen this type of market, and other, younger loan officers. But, that's how you did it. And then within 3 years, I was a number 3 producing sales volume there behind the 2 owners that were doing it for 10 years. And, because I got the taste, right? It was like hunting elephants, right? So you could hunt as much as you want, and when the freezer got full, I just got another freezer.
Right.
So it was great because I had never made that type of money before. I bounced around to foundries and steel mills. There's only so many foundries and steel mills and scrap yards to call on. And now I was working for myself, basically, and I was just crushing it because I'd work all the time.
Yep.
And I would do open houses on the weekends. And my wife at the time, right, because then we got married. My wife at the time, she's like, I'm tired of your phone ringing all the time. I'm tired of you taking these calls on the weekends. I go, listen. Listen, sweetheart. I go, when the phones ring on the weekends, it's a good thing. We got problems when the phones stop ringing on the weekend. I go, because people buy homes on the weekend.
On the weekends or at night.
So let's just get this right. We just entered this relationship. We're now married.
You just as well get it out of the way early.
I go, if you want me to pay the bills, I'm answering the phone on the weekend. And I'm going to answer the phone at 8 o'clock at night because that's when people get off of work and off their job. And I do a lot of blue-collar stuff, right, with guys and gals that work second, third shift. And they're 9, 10 o'clock is the only time they got on their way to work or on their way back to work because they're sleeping all day.
Right.
You call them at 9 o'clock in the morning, you wake them up, piss them off, there goes the loan. So I'm just like, hey, when's a good time to call you? Well, I get off at 10 o'clock, a.m. or p.m. I'll call you at 10:30 on the way home. Really? Yep. Yeah, why? Well, because
I want to make it happen.
I want to help you accomplish your real estate needs, right? Either purchase a home or refinance. So that's what I did. Got into a partner who I work with at the company, Air Mortgage. Apple Mortgage changed their name to Air Mortgage, and then the operations manager came and they say, hey, you want to start a company? So we started a company called Townstone Financial. It was 2003. So 3 years in, I'm an owner of a mortgage company, part owner of a mortgage company. He handled all the back-end nonsense, which I'm still not good at and have no interest in doing. And I'm more in the sales. So it was a good partnership that lasted until 2015. And then, we were having loan buybacks after... And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this bullshit anymore. Right. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to own a mortgage company. We were competing with gigantic companies like Guaranteed Rate who had better technology and better stuff. And I'm just like, I don't want to own a mortgage company. I was driving. I had moved out of the city up to the northern suburbs of Chicago. Schlepping in. If I left at 5:55, it would be a 20-minute drive in. If I left at 6:01, it would be an
2 hours
and a half drive in.
Right.
I'm like, forget about this. This is bullshit. I'm not doing this anymore. So I told my partner I wanted out. I went over to Pearl Mortgage where I met my partner Dave. He's like, let's partner up. I'm like, okay. And then when Pearl Mortgage happened, when they sold out to another company, we decided we didn't want to go with that company, and we came over to Homeside and partnered with Johnny and Stuart, Andy, and us four have got a little
division.
Yeah, a little
right?
division within lower.com now. So it's worked out good,
Great.
right? I mean, Johnny and I, John Cornish and I,
Yep.
we focus on sales, right? I don't want to have absolutely nothing to do with operations.
That back-end stuff.
I don't understand it.
Right.
I just I could get the loan in. I could talk to the borrower. I could set them up in the loan program. I drop them off in one of my guys' loans. I got a team of 9 now.
Okay.
They're all great. Trained them all myself.
Yep.
They all know what to do. They all know what to say. They all know how to handle the borrowers. They know how to overcome all the objections, and they know how to take care of challenges that come aboard, right?
Great.
If there's blood in the street and we've got a train wreck, they call me. I clean it up. We get the wheels back on the track. We get the car rolling down the track again,
Yep.
and it's just getting the transaction done and the customer experience and making the customer happy, right?
I love it.
It's all the borrower experience.
Yep.
So,
That's what it comes back to.
yeah, that's where we are today.
I love it.
Yeah.
So at what point did you decide and I assume it was probably production related, but when you started, 23 years ago or whatever that odd date was, at what point did you make the decision like, all right, I'm going to need some help. I'm going to need to scale this team to help, improve that buyer experience?
Yeah, well, it was interesting. So a lot of our stuff, a lot of our leads and a lot of our relationships come from the radio. Okay. I got involved, got lucky. I made friends with the real estate, a couple of realtors who was friends with an on-air personality in Chicago.
You've got a great face for radio, by the way.
Tremendous, especially this morning.
I knew that was coming.
I
had to throw that one in there.
Very visually challenged.
Yeah.
So long story short, a lot of the leads started coming in.
Got it.
I started doing radio. I went on.
And not to like kind of sidetrack everybody, when you started into radio, was your vision that like, okay, I'm going to do this for lead generation for mortgage, or were you just enjoyed talking to people and having conversations? What was that like?
Yeah, so I'm 2-3 years into this. No, we were at Townstone, so I was like 4 or 5 years into the business.
So you're thinking mid 2000s, like 2005 is kind of when you.
2005? No, it was prior to that. It was because I started the radio show in 2004. It was like 2001. Okay, somewhere in there. 2002. I became friends with these realtors.
Got it.
And these two knuckleheads are just absolute, just degenerate, real cool guys, great guys to run with. They're like, hey, man, I get this call in the middle of the day, right? Hey, man, we're in the back of a limo with Mo Driver, okay, his name was Scott McKay, but his on-air was Mo Driver. He's like, we're in the back of a limo. We're going to a live remote. Kevin's doing an appearance on a Friday at a local bar. Budweiser or Miller, sponsored the live remotes at the bar. So they bounced around, and I was a huge fan of that DJ's show. I used to listen to it all the time. So I know who Scott McKay, a.k.a. Mo Driver, is. I know what he sounds like. I know his voice.
Yeah.
So, there's no freaking way you two idiots are in the back of a limo.
With Mo Driver.
And they're like, we are. We're going to sell him a home. You're going to get him the mortgage. He doesn't think he could get a mortgage. And I told him, you're our guy. You'll get him a mortgage. I'm
there
like,
you go.
I'm like, that's true. But let me see, the fantasy world that you're living in. I'm like, give me the phone over to Mo Driver. So Scott,
and we're talking phone like on a cord at this point.
It was some brick phone in the early 2000s.
It's not like you're hopping onto a FaceTime with him.
You got the professor on the bike, jacking up the generator because we're all so old. So Scott gets on the phone. He's like, "Hey, buddy, what's up?" I'm like, "Holy shit, that's Mo Driver.
This is my guy.
That's Mo Driver." I'm like, "Dude, love your show, listen all the time, whatever."
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm like, I'm gonna get you more." He's like, "You'll never get me a fucking mortgage." I'm like, "Here's the deal," and I'll never forget this. They go, "I get you a mortgage. You put me on the radio." He's like, "Deal," because he figures can't fall off the floor. Right? What do I got to lose? Long story short, helped him secure a mortgage on his new home with his wife and his kid in Evanston, Illinois, which is on north of the city of Chicago.
Okay.
I show up the next day or the night of, I don't know, 2 bags of groceries, staples, right? Eggs, milk. Toilet paper, paper towels, cleaner, stuff. He's moving in a new house. Figure you could use this stuff.
Yeah.
And with 2 $100 gift certificates at the Italian joint Maggiano's at the mall around the corner. I'm like, all right, dude, here's your home that you said that I could never
can't
get done.
you.
Right.
Yep.
Here are the groceries that are a housewarming gift. What am I getting on the effing radio? I go, it's time for you to pay up. He's like, deal. He's like, deal. So long story short.
And at that point, you had no radio experience at all.
Zero. I went to school. I was a business major.
But you were always a bullshitter, so I knew you wanted to chat.
I could sling the shit with the best. Still can.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, dude, let's go. Right? When are you going to have me on the show?
Yep.
Payback time. He's like, all right, deal's a deal.
So going into this, though, you were just wanting to get on once, or you had a vision like, I want my own show?
I had no idea what the median would lead to.
Got it.
Right? I mean, I listened to the radio all the time.
Yeah.
Back in the day, WCKG was the station for 24 to 54 males. You had Howard Stern in the morning. You had Kevin Matthews and Mo Driver middays, and you had Steve Dahl at night. So all the old farts like me know that lineup. When you woke up, you turned on WCKG. When you pulled into your garage at night, you had CKG on your radio. You never turned the station.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, let's go. So long story short, I had a BlackBerry.
Okay.
Right? Remember the BlackBerries?
Those were high tech back then.
Those were high tech back then. There's a great show on Twitter or on one of the stations about the rise and fall of BlackBerry, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's in the Prudential Building downtown Chicago.
Okay.
Cell phone reception back in the early 2000s in those buildings in downtown Chicago
didn't exist probably.
Were horrible.
Yep.
Right? You couldn't get cell phone reception. So, I parked in the Prudential Plaza, and it was like a bomb shelter.
No idea where you're going.
It went down 6 layers, okay? So I had to take an elevator up to the main floor, then an elevator up to the studio.
Yep.
He's like, all right, here's the deal. I'm going to start the show. I'm going to do the first block, 7 to 7:15, and then I'm going to bring you on the second block. He's like, I got a full show planned. He's like, if you suck, I'm blowing you out after this. Swear to God. He's like, if you suck, I'm blowing you out.
That's the last one. Yeah.
We got a deal. I paid back. And if you're good and we get calls, we'll keep going. I'm like, all right, fuck, all right, let's go. So it's 7 o'clock at night. So he brings me on 7:15, kind of sweaty. Never been in a radio studio before.
Right.
And he's like, hey, David Hochberg, I just bought a home. This guy's amazing. I figured that, to talk about the experience, whatever. So him and I started talking just like this. He's like, hey, got any question about mortgages? Call in. Boom, phone lines light up. We get all 10 lines lit up for all 45
Because at this
minutes.
point, he's pretty big, right? Like, what would you say his average listening rate would be there at that time?
He had probably 40, 50,000 listeners coming on after Steve Dahl because Kevin Matthews had gone in another direction, so they kind of split up, and Scott was looking for a place, so they put him on after Steve from 7 to 10 at night. So I'm like, all right, what do I got to lose, right? Can't fall off the floor. And so I told him, we started talking about the challenges we had to overcome. Mm-hmm. Phone lines started lighting up. I'm like, holy smokes, right? So we started taking calls. And I'm just giving advice. Yeah, here's what you want to do. You could do this. You could do that. And back then, we could do like 7 or 10 loans because of the subprime market. I'm just like, all right, here's what you want to do. Go here, here, here. Boom, boom, boom. Never gave out my phone number for 45 minutes. He's like, hey, bud, thanks for coming in. This was great information. The listeners loved it. Why don't you give out your phone number? I'm like, is that all right? He's like, yeah, why not? So I gave it out. I gave out my phone number. And at that time, I had forwarded my phone to my cell phone.
Sure.
Right? Why not? So I get down to the basement, get in my car, I get out of the Prudential Plaza. Now I get cell phone reception now, right? Because now I'm on Lower Wacker Drive. I've got air coming. I get signal. 25 friggin' messages from WCKG
just from the radio
listeners. So
this is, keep in mind, guys, this is first show.
Time out.
No,
first time out. Just talking like you and I, right?
Yeah.
Just talking like I talk every day, right? Hey, here's what I talked to 4 people on the way out here, schlepping in a rainstorm from Davenport.
Yeah.
Here's what we're going to do to fix you, and here's what bing bang.
Giving them guidance.
Just give them guidance, right? You want to take it, great. You don't want to, then continue down the path and go crash into the wall, right? So one became 25. We probably got 16, 17 transactions out of it, right?
Yeah.
So then we started, I had to hire more people, and then the team grew, and I was working like 16, 18 hours a day. It was
so you quickly realized this was kind of a cheat code.
Oh, it was like, the Beverly Hillbillies, all you younger folks, Google that. Uncle Jeb out there was shooting at a squirrel and hit the gold mine.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I just struck gold here. So
and this was one episode in. You had no intentions. You really, like, going into it was more just to prove a point. And it wasn't even
what it's all about.
Yeah.
So I figure, all right.
So obviously it hit, though, right? Like, obviously it succeeded, but then also, what was Mo's thoughts, like, after episode 1? Like, when you guys went off air, what was his reaction?
He's like, dude, that was awesome, right? And here's a radio professional.
Yeah.
Okay, I used to listen to the radio.
Right.
That was my radio experience.
Yeah.
Push, back in the day, we would push, the button in, and so I go, was that all right? He said, all right, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I said, cool. So I got to my car. 10 minutes later, you get the elevator down, you get to your car, you get out. 25 messages. I'm like, holy smoke! So called my rep at the time, who I met at the live remote with these guys, because I went to a live remote later.
Okay.
And I started investing on the station. I started recording commercials, which I had never done before.
Sure.
And we went from nothing to $480,000 a year in radio advertising, $40,000 a month. Because it was working.
Right.
I mean, again, we were doing 70% of the calls that were coming in. We had a solution for those callers.
Yep.
So, why wouldn't you do it? Then my team, we kept hiring more people.
Sure.
And we kept doing more loans. And then we
Yep.
were making more money. It was great, right? So, and then I bought an hour on a Saturday.
I was going to say, so at what point did it transition from just advertising to hosting your own show?
Yeah, so I was listening to this. There was a guy in Chicago radio by the name of Joe Aldiger. It's the biggest piece of shit on the planet. Okay, and Joe,
Okay.
if you're listening, you're a piece of shit. Okay,
I'm sure he'll be tuned into the Brady Haye Mortgage Team
He's a
podcast.
piece of shit. I'm just telling you. So I would listen to this guy, and this guy would put, and I called into his show and told him he was a piece of shit off air. Okay, because what he was doing was he was putting people, old people, because you could tell with their voice, right, experienced homeowners, into very risky loans.
So this was also a radio
He had a radio show on
and a mortgage advisor.
Right. Well, he was a con artist. He wasn't a mortgage advisor,
Sorry.
right?
Okay.
But he had a show on WLS, and I would listen to him. I'm like, this guy's such a scumbag. He would take, experienced homeowners and put them into high-risk loans, option arms, which are high-risk loans with like a 2-3 year prepay. He was making a ton of money. And then he was
Setting people up for failure.
Setting people up and locking them in, and then taking money out and investing in a property down in Florida, in Orlando, that he brought Mike Ditka on and Lou Canellis on and all this stuff. And I'm friends with Lou Canellis, and I told Lou, stay the hell away from this guy. It's bad news. Guess what? The properties went bankrupt. These people lost a ton of money. They're locked into these loans. They bought, it was a big thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this guy could do a show.
Surely I can.
I can do a show, and I can do a better show.
And do it the right way, and
exactly.
And, advise it properly.
So I bought an hour. I had to buy at the time. So I bought an hour on Sunday. I didn't want to compete with the Bears. It was 2004, Lovie Smith's first year. I'm like, it's a Chicago Bears. It's a Chicago town.
The
Bears
that's going to take priority.
Right. So then the Bears started 0-4, and I was just like, well, the Bears fucking suck.
Maybe I should do this during the Bears game.
I'm like, the Bears suck. I'm like, right. So I bought an hour, 9 to 10 on Sunday.
Okay.
And people started listening. And I used to bring in 3 sheets of paper with all my notes and everything. Yeah. And then by the 6th show, the phone started ringing. Right.
Yeah.
I brought in my credit enhancement guy. I brought in a realtor. I brought in a commercial realtor. I brought in a real estate attorney. Right. I started bringing in, and we just started talking for 45 minutes like we're doing now.
Yep.
With commercial breaks, and hopefully somebody listening on the other side. Then by the 5th, 6th show, people started calling in, asking questions. I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. And then I renewed for 2 hours on a Sunday, right? Yep. And then I went from 16 weeks to 32 weeks, and then I went to a year, and then they switched me over to Saturdays for 3 hours on Saturdays. I'm like, this is great. All right, they brought on more sponsors and brought on more professionals, because nothing's more boring than a mortgage broker saying, the rate today is 7.75.
That's not really why people listen, right? Like, that's not the kind of stuff they're looking for.
I don't quote rates at all.
Yeah.
Right? I stay away from rates. Just talk about housing, right? You got housing challenges. I've got a general contractor. I've got 20 experts. So that was the start of the radio show.
Yeah.
And then the radio business is like the hollers of West Virginia, and I'm not knocking the hollers of West Virginia. I've been to West Virginia. I worked in West Virginia, and I know what I'm talking about with the hollers.
Kind of a shit state, no?
No, it's a beautiful state. No. He said shit state. It's a beautiful state. I worked in Ashland, Kentucky.
Okay.
On South Point, Ohio. Okay, so I lived in South Point, Ohio. I worked in Ashland cleaning up AK Steel before I switched careers. So I became friends with people in the hollers down there. And the thing with the hollers, they're all related to each other.
Okay.
So if you say, Johnny's an asshole. Well, that's somebody.
That's Johnny's cousin's brother's son.
They're related to 17 people in the bar.
Sure.
So you don't say anything about anybody.
Right.
And that's the radio industry. So when CKG, the people went to different radio stations, and then I got contacts at different radio stations over the past 19 years doing radio. So now I've done all the loans of everybody in the radio. I've done all the loans of on the on-air. I'm not saying it to say, look how great it is. I mean,
no, I think that's good. And I it's funny, we're 23 minutes in, and I think we finally have gotten a vision for who you are, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I just fell into it, man.
Yeah, so, and that's cool, and some context for other people is obviously Dave's been doing radio and mortgages in the Chicagoland area for a long time. Yeah. And the cool part that I've loved to learn from him is again, it just comes down to conversations with good people and knowing how to treat people the right way and guide them along their mortgage journey, really. And that's what I would, what I've learned from that is honestly, it's kind of an extension of what I'm doing here with the podcast is like, my hope is I can reach as many people as I possibly can, know and understand that I'm an expert in the mortgage world, but also not understand that this podcast isn't going to be just, 45 minutes of me giving tips on how to successfully execute a mortgage, right? Like if you want to have that conversation with me, by all means, I'll have that, but I'm not going to have that in this. What my goal is with this podcast is to give people a platform to share what they do, why they do it, and what makes them different from the competition. And that's kind of the heart behind this. With you, obviously, with your mortgage experience, I do want to take an opportunity and kind of chat through two different sides of things. Really, obviously, just kind of a state of the union of our industry as a whole is what it is right now. It gets a bad rep, and so I want to get your perspective on that, both from if we're speaking to a client in today's market, and then also what you would recommend to our referral partners, which most tends to be real estate agents, how to navigate what we're currently facing. It's kind of the direction I want to go with where we're at, knowing your experience, what you've seen in your 23 years of originating home loans. When you're sitting down with a client right now, what conversations are you having with that person?
You're buying the house, renting the rate. It's the biggest cliche in the industry right now.
Okay.
For everybody buying. I show them numbers. I just ran numbers yesterday because everybody's a real estate expert, right?
Yep.
I'm going to wait for the market to cool down. Okay, when's that?
Right.
Well, if you said that in 18, you missed it in 19. If you said that in 19 and you were waiting for 20, you missed it. If you were waiting for 21 and 20, you missed it. And you've missed it for the past 5 years.
Yep.
Okay? So I ran numbers, right? You bought a home today for $450, 20% down, the rate's 7 point something, right? 7.75 to 8%. So you got a payment of $2,560 P&I. Okay, principal and interest. All right, great. You want to wait for 2 years, okay, because you think rates are going to drop in 2 years. And you're probably right? What goes up comes down. What goes down comes up. I mean, yeah, you're probably right. It's like a weatherman saying it's going to rain. Yeah, eventually it's going to rain.
Yep.
Okay, great. You're a genius. So there's no inventory right now because everybody's stuck in their 2 and 3% loans, right?
Nobody wants to sell.
Nobody wants to sell because of the shock of the rates. Okay, great. So what's that done? It's continue to put pressure on the market, okay? So let's just say in a couple of years, because there's no inventory and you get a 5% appreciation on your home, very conservative. That's realistic today because there's no inventory, right? I'm not saying 15% like we saw during COVID. I'm saying 3 to 5, which is a steady, nice conservative mark. All right, so that $450,000 home, okay, that you just bought for $90,000, okay, is now worth $500,000. Okay, great. Now you want to buy a home. Rates are down to 6.25. Okay, phenomenal. All right. Yeah, the P&I on there's only like a $90 or $80 difference in the
between high sevens and
6.25.
Yep.
Right, 6 point. I mean, when you run the numbers,
we're talking $80 a month.
It's under $100.
Right.
Not saying that $100 isn't a lot of money, but that's a Starbucks coffee every day. Okay, literally.
As I'm drinking
as
one.
You're drinking that crap, right? but okay.
Yeah.
Right. Fine. It's $100 more. What just happened? You just, number one, lost an opportunity to pick up $50,000 worth of equity
in appreciation
over those next 2 years. You also, now if you want to buy that same home, it's going to cost you $10,000 more in a down payment because you went from 90 G's for 20% down to 450. to 100 G's at 500. Okay,
Yep.
so now it costs you more. You lost $50,000 worth of appreciation. Okay, cost you 10 G's to buy the same home, and the payment is going to be within $100 what you're paying now.
Yep.
Here's a kick in the balls that nobody knows. When the rates come down, guys on my team, you and guys in this office, and every mortgage professional that's still in the business is going to be calling that person they put in at 7.75 or whatever it is and refinance it down to 6.25. And you know what? Not only did you lose the opportunity to pick up 50 G's worth of equity, okay, you also lost the opportunity to go from $24.98 down to $21.60. It's $250 less of a payment. If you bought today at these shitty rates, quote unquote shitty rates, they're shitty to you,
right?
To your parents and grandparents.
Yep.
These are great rates.
Yeah.
Because they remember in the 80s, when I was in high school, they were paying 12 to 15 to 18%.
Yeah.
So they look at like 7.5, they're like 8%.
Really not all that bad.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
So it's all in perspective.
It is, for sure.
So that's what I run them through. I had a guy calls me up, he's like, yeah, I'm living in I'm living in Bucktown in Chicago. Okay, great. What do you do for a living? I'm in industrial sales. I'm like, so you could work anywhere. Yeah, I'm in my car all the time. What does your wife do? Math teacher up at Stevenston High School up in Lincolnshire, Illinois. Great school, right? Okay, great. You're a math teacher. Great. Where do you want to move? I want to move to Arlington Heights or Palatine, western suburbs of Chicago, where the Bears are going to build their stadium, right?
Yep.
I'm like, okay. And you're from that area. Yeah, I grew up in the area. I go, okay. Where in Palatine, Arlington Heights, and I'll go a little further south in Schaumburg. Okay. Are they building homes right now in mass amounts in tracts? Where are they blowing out cornfields? There's no cornfields anymore.
Right.
And when I moved to Chicago in 1972, there were cornfields.
Right. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay. You got to go further. I go, where are they knocking stuff down other than the Chicago Bears knocking down Arlington Park Racetrack and building a brand new stadium and an entertainment center? Where's anybody building 150 to 250 new homes that's going to bring inventory on the market, that's going to put pressure, downward pressure?
Which is what we need.
Which is what you need.
Yeah.
He's like, nowhere. I go, okay. So when you wait, what do you think's going to happen when rates go from 7.75 down to 6.25? What you're going to wait for? It's going to create a bigger demand. I go, exactly. You're in sales, supply and demand.
Yep.
I go, so when those people start coming in, that $450,000 single family home that was worth $375 a couple, 2-3 years ago, and now going to be worth $500,000. Would you agree with that? He's like, yeah, I would agree with that. I go, why do you want to wait?
Yeah.
So when you start, you can't tell people, right? My sales technique is conversational.
Yeah.
Right? Take what they do for a living and try to build it into what we do for a living, right? And it's math.
Yep.
And I call it monetary masturbation. That's my thing, right? I go, you got the 4 T's: toothpaste, toilet paper, tampons, transportation, right? When you're buying a home, if you don't need those 4 things, and guys use tampons to light their fireworks, you didn't realize that. That's why you're missing fingers on your other hand.
Right.
I understand. So now you'll run out and get tampons for the next 4th of July. But I always say toothpaste, 4 T's: toothpaste, toilet paper, tampons, transportation. If it doesn't fall in those 4 categories when you're going to buy a home, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Right. So then I just walk our listeners and our borrowers, where a lot of our borrowers are listeners.
Yeah.
And this is a kid. This borrower was the son of a guy I've been working with for the past 20 years. Right? He was 6 years old.
So his family's trusted you.
Right. I've done his father's loan 6-8 times on his home, his investment property, his second home.
Yeah.
So now his kids come. That's how old I am. I got their kids coming up. And my dad's like, whatever he says, do, because he's the real deal. Don't outsmart the smartest guy in the room. You're not the smartest guy in the room. This guy's been doing it for 23 years.
Yep.
Listen to him. So I use that sales technique, Brady, where it's not even sales, it's conversation. What do you do for a living? What does she do for a living? Okay, why do you think that? And then I reverse engineer my sales technique.
Yep. That's the exact same way I do it. It comes down to goals-oriented selling, right? And so what I'm always trying to do whenever I connect with a client for the first time is, what are you looking to accomplish here, right? 100%. What's your overall long-term and short-term goals, and how can I help you achieve those based on the current payments and current opportunities that we can offer? And it comes down to helping them achieve that. And if they can do that, it still makes sense to own a home.
So I'll give you another example. So we talked to a lady last week, right? She's got $85,000 worth of consumer loans.
Yeah.
Those, you know what those are. Our listeners might not. Those are the short-term, high-interest rate lending club, lending tree, SoFi, Discover.
Typically used for what, hypothetically?
Get people out of trouble that have credit card debt, so they take out the short-term loan.
So it's a consolidation loan.
Consolidation loan. It's it's sitting under the oak tree, popping Viagra and eating lollipops, right? So the challenge that our listeners don't realize is that the one couple that I spoke with, $85,000 of these loans.
Yep.
$85,000.
It's a big number.
$3,000 a month monthly payment.
Also a big number.
Which is the equivalent of, in this market, a $400,000 mortgage payment. So we walked him through the whole thing. I didn't tell, what's your principal and interest here? What's your debt here? Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to put you here. We're going to save you $1,000 a month. Okay, what's the rate? We're going to save you $1,000 a month. If I tell you the rate, you're going to shit in your pants and you're not going to do it. So $1,000 a month. And then you know what you're going to do with the $1,000 a month? She's like, what? I'm like, you use $1,000 a month to pay down the $60,000 with the credit card debt you got. Okay, I didn't even touch credit card debt.
Yep.
We don't have enough.
That's on top of the 85.
On top of the 85. So I just saw a chart. At the start of COVID, the market was $1.6 billion of these consumer loans in March of 2020. Today it's $1.9 billion. So we've added $300 billion on top of the student loan debt, the trillions of dollars of student loan debt that just started to be repaid on October 1st.
Yep.
On top of the $1.05 trillion of credit card debt, on top of the default rate that we're seeing in subprime car loans now, because borrowers who have car loans, you're not going to have a car soon if you keep missing payments. Like 6 point.
This is real stuff, people.
These are real numbers. I'm not pulling this out of my ass.
Yeah.
These are real numbers. So when you start talking, so I talked to Johnny Hendrickson, the guy on my team, like, hey, where are we at with that lady's loan? They're dragging their feet. I'm like, okay, set up a call.
With you.
With me on the way I'm leaving here to go see my daughter in Iowa City. She goes to University of Iowa. We're going to have.
Go Hawks, by the way.
Go Hawks, right? A&F, right? American Needs Farmers. So, I'm going to go see my daughter, and I'm going to call this lady and be like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got your sexy rate over here, right? And it's drowning you. What are you doing? I know the 8.625% rate, whatever, FHA loan.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Right.
We're going to clean up your debt. We're going to clean up your credit. I mean, even if rates stay the same right now, I could take you out of FHA, put you into a Fannie Freddie, drop to $250 PMI, and it's a rate and term refinance instead of a cash out.
Yep.
So Johnny's only been doing it for 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Still learning.
So I got a little bigger hammer when it comes from me. So I'm just going to call her and be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to send you a gift basket. Why? Because you're going to need it when you're drowning, because you're not going to be able to buy food for your family, right? Your 3 kids need that $1,000. You and your husband, get your heads out of your ass.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to tell them. I'm like,
and you told us this last week, and I think it really stuck with me, is the key word is the family, right?
Family.
You got to take care of your people. And so I guess moral of the story, and not to cut you off, I'm sure you have more to share, but the moral of the story that I want to make sure that people are hearing from this is it's not necessarily all about that fancy little mortgage rate that you got back during COVID. There's more to it, and it's more about the monthly budget.
It's a monthly payment.
That's really what matters most here, is making sure you can afford your monthly payment. If you get into a position where you're into debt, what the old commercial used to say, and debt up to your eyeballs.
Yeah.
And you've got yourself in a position where you can't support your monthly expenses, it's important to evaluate your overall monthly costs and make sure we can get you into a better long-term situation. If rates drop down the road, we can definitely explore that. 100%. But at the end of the day, we got to make sure that you're able to support what you're liable for paying.
Right. It's about the monthly payment. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's about the monthly payment.
And I know you're not telling me that. You're telling these people that.
It's about the monthly payment.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to look at your sexy, and I got a commercial running in Chicago area right now. I know you got your sexy 2 and 3%, loan over here, but you're loaded with $50,000 to $60,000 to $100,000 worth of other debt.
Paying 26%.
I go, I don't give a shit what your rate is.
Yeah.
It's about the monthly payment.
And home equity. How high are we right now on home equity?
Record high. We haven't slipped back. California, I just saw something yesterday, starting to slip.
Little bit of reduction.
Because
Sure.
of it was overpriced to begin with, and all the tech job losses and everything. It always hits California first and works its way in from the coast.
Sure.
So California was an anomaly anyway. You're paying $1.5 million for a 700 square foot condo, which is very mashuggy, and it never made any sense.
Yep.
But that's fine, right? But it's starting to work their way in, and that's where I just saw something yesterday. So last week, right, when I was on Chicago radio, I said I saw something that came out that confidence with new home builders were at its lowest level in October than it was in January, right? Mm-hmm. So in January it was low, so it hasn't been this low since January. Okay, which I said I don't understand how new home builders are so depressed. Confidence is so low.
Yeah.
When they're the only things that are selling, right? Are new homes the only things selling? I go, I don't understand.
Because none of that resale stuff is available right now.
In abundance,
yeah.
Right? So I said, I don't understand that, right? This was a week ago. Yesterday, right, new home sales increased 12.3% from September, the highest jump in new home sales since August of 2022. And what the new home builders are doing, they're giving incentive. They're incentivizing buyers.
Rate buy downs.
See
them all the time.
buy downs. And I'm a huge fan of closing cost credits.
Yeah.
I love closing cost credits. And if you're a buyer and you're going in at $400,000, right? And you're going in and you're trying to be a real estate maven, and you go at $388. Okay, great. They agree to $388 because now they want to get out because the seller completely missed the market.
Yep.
Right? All right, $388. Go back to $4, get a $12,000 closing cost credit, and mortgage professionals like you and me and on our teams, we'll use that $12,000 to save you a shit ton of money.
Right.
And that's an official term, shit ton of money.
We'll put that on the closing disclosure too. But no, so okay, touching on that a little bit. So seller credits is the term you're talking about here. When you offer that to a seller of a property, what are some things that home buyers can use that towards?
Oh, all applicable closing costs and prepaid items. If you want to buy down the rate, we could use it to buy down the rate, which is one percentage point of your mortgage loan amount is a discount point. So if you got a $300,000 mortgage, we could use $3,000 to buy the rate down, right? Or a percentage thereof. You could pay your first year's worth of mortgage. You could buy out mortgage insurance if you have mortgage insurance.
Yep.
You could pay for your homeowner's insurance for the first year, depending upon where you're at and what your premium is. It could be $800. It could be $2,500.
Yep.
You could buy out you could pay for your real estate attorney. Mm-hmm. If your home inspector is willing to send a bill in to get paid at closing, you could pay your home inspector. If you want a home warranty, you could buy a home warranty. All applicable closing costs and prepaid. You could load up your escrow account with that money if there's any money left. So you can basically walk in and get a check back if you're escrowing from the escrows because you're using the closing cost credit. And here's the biggest thing. And this is on, and I love realtors. This is not a knock on realtors. The realtors need to do a better job. Mm-hmm. And mortgage professionals need to do a better job training their realtors that they have relationships with. Why a closing cost credit does not hurt the seller at all.
Right.
Because if you're selling your home for 400 G's with a $12,000 closing cost credit, or 388, I'm sorry,
you net the same amount.
388 with no closing cost credit, or 400 with a 12,000, you're netting the same amount. Now, if you want to get technical, you could put in there in the contract the realtors only get paid on 388, and if there's transfer taxes, there might be a couple of shekels here or there. Sure. But in the long run, the seller will always benefit.
Yep, for sure.
By keeping that money in.
And that seller credit that he's talking about there, guys, is it's going to make a bigger impact on the overall monthly budget or even your cash to close than what simply just that price reduction would have. So.
And moving into a new house, you got to pay a mover.
Yep. Maybe new furniture.
Maybe if you're like my wife, right? So you got to run a Bed Bath and Beyond if it's still open, or the Home Depot because the bath mat in the kids' in the bathroom have got to match in the toothpaste holder. And
need all brand new stuff.
Oh, it's all a bunch of crap. Mm-hmm. So me, I'm like, just get black because it hides all the stains. But everything's got to. You're laying out thousands of dollars, hooking cable up and doing all this stuff.
Down payment and closing costs isn't the only cost of buying a new home. No. So there's more to it for sure there. And I'm actually glad you brought this topic up. I actually had a realtor here in Des Moines that was posting some stuff on social media last week about this as well, and I was able to contribute into the comments because there were a lot of trolls in the comments that were just saying, "Oh, this is bullshit. Why would you ever go up in price to get seller credits?" One point that I want to drive home for people is knowing. One of the people in the comments was commenting on like, well, what if the appraisal doesn't hit, right? And
so you lower the price low.
So you adjust it accordingly if the appraisal does come in low. But the other thing that I'll encourage my listeners to there is like if the appraisal, when the appraiser is reviewing this property to confirm if it hits or not, they're going to support what value they come up with comparable sales. So It's not like it's going to be inflated artificially. The appraiser is going to protect buyers and sellers with that. So there are checks and balances in place there is my point. And there's a lot of speculation. It's like, oh, well, it's never going to appraise if you do that. It's like, it's going to if it will.
The realtor went to put the home on the market for that price.
Yep.
If the realtor who dances on that playing field, on that dance floor, every single day,
when they select that listing price,
they have backup.
They've done their research and knowledge to know what's gonna support that value, and that's the huge benefit of paying for a real estate agent.
Correct.
You work with a professional who knows how to properly list a price. That's why they're involved in the transaction. So
and their fee is well worth it.
100%. So no, I think this is a plethora of valuable knowledge. The only other thing that I want to kind of have you touch on is more along that real estate agent perspective. We've got a lot of professionals that we work with in that industry that maybe getting discouraged and down on themselves and what they're working with just because things are tougher right now. It's tougher to convince people to buy homes. Touch on what conversations you're having with your referral partners, your real estate agents. What things are your partners doing? Because I know you're going to partner with the right people. What are they doing in a market like this right now to differentiate and continue to survive this current market?
That's a great question. So number one, you have to take care of yourself.
Okay.
Right? Physically, mentally, right? You got to get through this, right? Okay, I've been through 4 of these already. Okay, 01, I was in August of 2000. I went through 9/11. Okay, you want a major adjustment in the marketplace. Look what happened at 9/11, right? They dropped the rates down to what they did in COVID. So when COVID hit, right, our partners were saying, some of our partners were saying, we got to create lists. We're going to start laying people off. I'm like, bullshit. I go, you look on the roads. There's nobody out. The economy is going to drop dead. They're going to drop rates like they did in 01. I had that experience because I was in it in 01. I'm like, we're not laying anybody off. We're going to have to start hiring people.
Yep.
So number one, take care of yourself, right? Start working out. Take an hour. You want to meditate. You want to get massages. You want to get facials, whatever. Just take time for yourself. Get your head right.
Love it.
Okay. Number two, get your finances straight. All right, because if you got to weather this thing. Because even though we're in the middle of a shitstorm right now, and it sucks, right? Like I said, I love this market because when we come out of it, there's going to be less competition for the realtors that make it and guys like me and you that'll be there to handle all of the refinances. Because when we do hit the skids and the economy hits the skids, what are they going to do? They're going to drop rates to get the economy going. Look over the past 23 years how many times they did that, right? And we were there just to print the paper of all the loan applications we were doing to help the borrower get into a lower rate and rearrange their financial furniture because they loaded up with debt during that period of time. Okay, so take care of yourself, take care of your finances. Don't stop doing what you're doing. Get your ass out of bed.
Or do more.
Or at least do what you're doing, right? Because what happens is, oh, this sucks. I'm going to turtle. I'm going to turn into a turtle. No, you got to get out there, continue to do what you're doing. You got to continue to reach out to other people who might need your services. So like I was talking to a realtor yesterday, right? He's like, well, I'm like, hey, have you contacted your friends, family, coworkers, neighbors to see if they can refinance? I'm not in the mortgage business. I go, you're in the business of helping people with their financial furniture in their home, right? And their largest investment's their home. And what they do inside their home with their financial furniture, what I mean is, all their credit card debt, it falls on you, right? He's like, well, I never thought of it that way. I go, exactly.
So good.
I go, reach out to your past clients because you're associated with a mortgage professional. This guy in Pennsylvania, right? I've got no relation. I'm like, you got a relationship with the lender out there? He's like, yeah, it's one of my buddies. I'm like, how great would it be for you to bring your buddy who's helping you with your marketing, right, to do 3 or 4 loans right now that he would never get because they're your clients.
Yep.
Reach out to your client and say, how are things going? right? I know you work at the Ford plant and things are a little tight right now, or GM because you all are on strike. How are you doing? Are you accumulating debt? That's just an example, right?
Yeah.
And find out what they got. You've got the settlement statement. You know what their loan amount was when it closed. You know what the rate is, right? Say, hey, you know what? And you know what values are going for of that home. Hey, you know what? You've got about $300,000 worth of equity. I got a buddy of mine in the mortgage industry. He could probably help you rearrange your financial furniture and roll that 50 G's in, or refer you to a bank to get a HELOC to get you into stuff. Would you be interested in just a free consultation?
Yep.
And then that realtor has just added more value.
Yeah. How much more willing is that client going to be to go back to sell and buy with them?
And here's the thing, Brady. How many friends, family, coworkers, and neighbors, Mr. Buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, seller of the house,
do they also know?
Do you know that are having same financial challenges as you are?
So good.
That my friend could help out. And now all of a sudden you got a mortgage broker over there. He just got 7, 8 loans because he doesn't know these people. Those are your clients, right? That they bought homes from.
Yep.
And there you go.
And how much more willing then is that mortgage lender going to be willing to pour back into that realtor
to support your
them
advertising
down the
in the
road?
business?
100%.
So I mean that's the only thing. And again, on the mortgage side, if you're a mortgage professional and you're tinkering on the verge of collapse, then go out of business. It'll be more for Brady and I.
That's right.
I think it's great. But in all seriousness, if you can make it through this and you're a mortgage professional and you want some guidance, you just keep digging.
Yep.
Right. And, I was talking to Justin and Amir, right? Amir Sayed, Justin Lopatin.
Yep.
And, I was very proud of them. I knew them at Pearl, and I called them after their recent, and you did a video on it, Go seminar that they did. I said, listen, I'm super proud of you guys. I've watched what you've done. And the thing that they've done, just using 2 gigantic names in the mortgage industry that a lot more people know than me, is when they stop digging, right, and their blades of their shovels fall off, they get down in the ditch and they start digging with their hands until the backhoe comes. That's what you got. You can't wait for this market to turn.
Yep.
Well, you got its asses and elbows, baby. You got to keep freaking digging. And when you stop digging and the spade comes off of that shovel, you're down to your nails. And when your nails fall off, you're down to your bones until reinforcements come.
Yep.
And if you keep digging and you look to the left and you look to the right, there ain't going to be a lot of people digging because they're going to get out after the spade fell off their shovel.
So then when you've got your excavator,
you're going to clean the ass. You're going to clean up. You're going to dig a bigger hole and go deeper, go wider, and you're going to build. And here's the thing: you're going to help out a ton more people because their mortgage professional that they relied upon is back in the mall spinning pretzels and folding underpants.
Right. Which is always going to be the heart behind why we do what we do.
100%.
Right? We just want to help as many people as we can.
That's what it's all about.
That's so good. No, Dave, you've shared a ton of valuable stuff here for our listeners. Hopefully the people that have stuck around, thank you for listening. And I appreciate your guidance, your heart, your passion for our division to continue to succeed. You've got a lot to share, and I'm sure that it's apparent that you care, right? It may be a different approach than others, but that's the cool part is like you care a lot about helping as many people as you possibly can.
Listen, how you sell and how I sell and whoever's watching, I'm as direct as you can be. You got an ugly baby, I'm the first one to tell you. Sorry.
Let you know.
You got an ugly baby, right?
Yep.
You got
and they exist, right? There's
right.
there's people say there's no such thing as ugly babies. Right. There are.
Well, your baby is visually challenged, okay? But and others dance around the cracks. I'm straightforward, honest guy, right? I mean, if you're loaded with, I talked to a lady on the way out here from Wisconsin. She got a 520 credit score. I'm like, okay, are you ready to put down the bucket of chicken and the Mountain Dew and the remote control and pick up a bucket of veggies and a bottle of water and get on the treadmill? And she knew exactly what I was talking about. She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, because I'm not going to waste my ass running after you. I'm not going to waste my time running after your ass trying to. I'll set up a plan. But you got to execute.
Yep.
So everybody's got their own different way of doing it. My way is not going to fit everybody.
Yep.
Your way is not going to fit me. Just do what's best for you.
Yep.
And again, when the spade breaks off that shovel, you get down in that hole and you keep digging and you get your hands dirty. And then when the backup comes, when the excavator or new shovels come, and you look to the left and you look to the right, there's not going to be too many people left in that hole digging, and you're going to be the one that's going to be able to clean up.
So good. Dave, thank you so much for joining. If you guys have interest or have any further questions for Dave or his team, I will be linking their contact information below. I'll tag them on socials. You can shoot them an email, whatever. We'd love to chat. We'd love to build up the brand. And Dave, let's leave the listeners with this. This is always the way I end all my episodes. Where's your favorite chicken wings you've ever had?
Oh my God, there was a place in Chicago. I forgot the name, but the chicken wings were what was basically the size of baby's feet. Not that I'm like going to eat baby's feet.
So you like big wings? Okay.
I love big wings, and I learned the helicopter move. The umbrella.
Yep.
Where you push down.
Yep.
Dude, genius.
It's no brainer.
I had no idea.
It's an absolute game changer.
Until the internet's amazing. TikTok, I learned it on TikTok.
There you go.
And
you dip it right in the ranch. Oh,
I go, dude, what's this?
I love it.
So I saw that. And I'm like, that's a genius move, right?
I love it.
And so I ran out. I forgot the place. I wish I could think of the place. But again, they're like little baby's feet.
Yep.
So thick and fat and plump. And I'm just like, so I got to try it. I'm like, holy shit, it worked.
Game changer.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's like,
well, if Dave thinks of the name of this spot, I'll make sure to have it and tag it in the comments below. But Dave, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys
6 or
listening.
7? Is
this was episode 5, actually.
this is 5.
I know we've been here for 54 minutes, but this has all been one episode, and this has been the Brady Haye Mortgage Team podcast. Thanks so much, Dave Hochberg, for joining, and we'll see you guys next episode.
Thanks for having me.